Welcome to You Are Not a Goat. If you want to follow your passion and do what you love, this is the podcast for you. Without further ado, here's your host, Shlomi Zayats.
Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of You Are Not a Goat. My name is Shlomi Zayats and I am your host. Just before we get started this week, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for listening, for taking some of your precious time to enjoy the show. I really appreciate it. And to all those of you who wrote reviews on iTunes or anywhere else, I really appreciate that as well. It really helps the show grow. The show has been growing. I just had a look at the statistics earlier this week, and there are listeners all over the world. We have many listeners in the United States, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in Switzerland, in Italy, even in Israel, and surprisingly, there are some listeners in Turkey as well. That was a surprise to me, but I'm glad to see that people are enjoying it. And as you know, the goal of this show and this podcast is sort of to inspire people to do what they love, do what they want to do. It doesn't have to be starting a business, although many people always wanted to start a business of their own, and if that's your thing, I hope you'll do that. But if you're not so much into business and you just want to pursue your passions in life, there's so many things you can do. You can start playing an instrument, or you can pick up a different hobby, start making art. That's the goal of this podcast, to get you to do something that you are not doing, that you've always wanted to do, or to get you to do something that nobody else is doing. Be unique. You are not a goat. Do something that's going to make you feel good about yourself and help you live your best life. You know, very often I'll see something, I'll notice a problem in society, or a problem with a certain product, or a problem with a certain service. I'll be like, I have an idea for this. I could make this better in a way. And I'm sure many of you experience the same thing. Our guest this week is a fellow by the name of Michael D'Agostino. And this is a very interesting interview and a very interesting story that he has to share. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about it. Michael D'Agostino is the founder and CEO of Tentrr.com. Tentrr is sort of like the Airbnb for camping. So if you want to go on a camping trip, you go to Tentrr.com, pick which state you're in, find a property that you like, and you book your trip directly with the landowner as opposed to some state environmental agency or something like that. It's a very personalized experience, and people are loving it. It's a company that's growing really quickly. I had a chat with Michael a while back, and we're going to play that in a minute. But one of the things that fascinated me about Michael is that he started his company because he noticed a problem somewhere. He went on a camping trip. He loves going camping. And he had a very bad trip. It was just too crowded for him, and he decided to end his trip early. And on the way home, he had this idea to start Tentrr. So listen to this interview, enjoy it, and hopefully it'll inspire you to take action in your own life and, start something new. Here it is, Michael D'Agostino, founder and CEO of Tentrr.com. Enjoy. Hey, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Shlomi. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on. We're super glad to have you. Just to start, can you share with us your background and the beginning story of Tentrr?
Yeah, sure. So I was an investment banker for about 12 years, doing corporate finance work. And then my wife started a technology company when the world blew up in 2008 and Bear Stearns went belly up. And I joined her to help her start her company. And then when that got off the ground, I actually went back into the finance world and ran the IPOs at the New York Stock Exchange. While I was there, this idea for Tentrr emerged. And it was an idea that had been a long time coming since I was a little kid camping in a cow pasture in Litchfield, Connecticut. But the idea is simple. And having very little time of my own working in finance, every once in a while you just want to get out of the city. And so found a campground in New Jersey to go to, and it was terrible. It was crowded. It was noisy. There was about 40 people right next to us having a Wiccan convention, Earth Witches, and it was nuts. It was like camping in Times Square, and we left early because it wasn't relaxing. It wasn't recharging, and on the way home we drove past a really beautiful farm, and I said to my wife, man, imagine if we could just go camping there. And then I thought, wait, imagine if we could actually go camping there. So that was a lightning bolt moment for the company. And then I thought, why can't we reinvent the infrastructure of camping and the way people enjoy the outdoors? It's an infrastructure today that's been around for 150 years, and it hasn't changed since the Civil War. It has almost no technology connected to it. And it's run largely by the federal government. So we wanted to disrupt that industry.
Okay, so what year was this when you drove past the farm?
It was in 2015, late 2014, late 2014, fall of 2014. Then the company started in earnest in April of 2015.
So how did you go about starting the company once you had the idea?
So we, my wife and I had this idea. I drew up a business plan, and then we started sort of talking to some venture capital firms in New York City, and ended up finding one that was really passionate about the outdoors and what we were doing and our idea, and we raised an initial $1 million seed round of venture capital funding.
Nice. But how did you approach the first homeowners, or how did you get the actual business off the ground?
Yeah, so when we started, the first thing I did was to find a chief technology officer, because I'm not a tech guy.
Okay.
I'm a finance guy and a big picture guy. So the first thing I did was find a chief technology officer, which I did. Once that was settled, I designed the kit, which is the Tentrr campsite kit, and I wanted it to be comfortable and stylish and easy to assemble. So I designed that whole kit, which is a wooden platform and picnic table, chairs and bed system. And then I found a company out in Denver to manufacture these beautiful, iconic canvas tents. Once that was done, then it was time to find some people that wanted to participate in this idea. So I put about 45.
You put together all the kits before you had any hosts?
I designed the kits, and then we found a contract manufacturer to actually build them for us.
Right, but you did that before you had any landowners who were willing to allow you to use their property?
We did. We found the manufacturer before we had any landowners, but we didn't hit go on that until we had a few people that were willing to do it. So okay. I put about 45,000 miles on my Jeep Cherokee driving around the Catskills, and basically sitting in people's living rooms and convincing them to put a campsite in their hayfield. And a shocking number of them said that they thought that was a terrific idea.
Nice. So how many campsites do you have today?
Today we have close to 400 campsites in 11 states, including California.
Okay, so what's the process like, or what's the experience like for someone who never heard of Tentrr.com? What goes on? How does it work?
Sure. So as a camp keeper, which is what we call the landowners, today instead of me driving around in my Jeep Cherokee, we have a large digital and direct mail campaign to source people with land that they'd like to share. So if people have 20 acres of land or more that they can share, and it has beautiful features, it's accessible, there's privacy and seclusion, they can apply to be a Tentrr camp keeper. So that all happens online. And we do send a scout out to the property. And then if it's greenlit for installation, an installation team goes out and installs the campsite on the property. Once that's done, The campsite is now live on Tentrr.com to be booked by anybody that wants to enjoy the great outdoors. As a camper, simple. You just go to our website, you find your perfect place. You can search by location, you can search by activity. And once you find your campsite, you just book it. Very similar to how Airbnb works.
Right.
And once that happens, we send you a comprehensive list of things that you should bring, things that are already included there at your campsite, activities to do in the area, wonderful restaurants, farm-to-table restaurants, and hikes and all sorts of things. So you have a kind of a fully integrated experience waiting for you at the campsite.
And what kind of amenities are offered at the campsites?
Well, that's the beauty of it. What happens, what you get with your basic Tentrr kit is a beautiful canvas tent, a bunk bed system with queen-size adult bunk beds, an extra tent in case you happen to have more people with you, a picnic table, Adirondack chairs, a fire pit with a grill to cook over, a camp toilet, and other amenities like a sun shower and a water container, tongs for the grill, that sort of thing. So you're sort of equipped with everything you need and nothing you don't need. Then what happens is the landowners, we've enabled them to offer what we call Tentrr extras. And an extra is anything that they'd like to offer to their campers as a paid amenity. They offer anything from a bundle of firewood to a skeet shooting excursion to a luxury bedding kit to fresh produce from their farm or garden, limited really by the imagination. Maybe there's a couple of kayaks in the barn. They rent those to the campers. So this has gotten to be one of our most sort of popular new initiatives at Tentrr, and it allows our landowners to create really hyper-local experiences for their campers in a way that we never could.
Right. And what are the rules that you require from the landowners? Like, what do they have to comply with when they have a site? How much land do they need? Do they need any insurance? Tell me about that.
Sure, yeah. So typically the rule of thumb is that they need about 20 acres of land.
Per campsite?
That generally, right, exactly. And that generally assures that there's privacy from neighbors and from the house where the landowner lives and that sort of thing. But it's a rule of thumb. I mean, if you live backed up to a 3,000 acre forest preserve, then it could be a totally different story. So, but 20 acres is generally a rule of thumb. We actually provide full general liability insurance to every campsite free of charge, up to $2 million per camp. So that's all taken care of. The only thing that we ask of the landowners is that they take care of their campsite, and also that Tentrr is exclusive, and we ask that you don't advertise on any other platforms.
Right. So I forgot to ask you: do the campsites have power, like electricity?
Nope, no power, no running water. But we've kind of implemented some elegant solutions around that. And the camp toilet is truly elegant in its simplicity. It's just a wooden box with a clean waste bag system, which is a waste system designed by NASA for the space program. Very simple, very easy to use, and landfill safe. And then in terms of the water situation, there's a 5-gallon water container at every campsite that camp keepers are asked to fill up, or at least provide their campers with a easy source to fill it up. So it's I think the difference here is a lot of people talk about Tentrr as the glamping, the Airbnb of glamping, or glamorous camping, and that's fine, and I think to some extent versus sleeping in a tent cheek by jowl with a million other people in a state campground, to some extent it is glamping. But I think we kind of differentiate ourselves by giving you a fully equipped experience. But at the end of the weekend, or at the end of the few days that you've been at the Tentrr campsite, you really feel like you've done something, and you feel like you're connected to the outdoors. So you've built a campfire, and you've used our camp toilet system instead of instead of a real bathroom with running water. And so it's a unique experience that I think anybody can do in relative comfort and style.
Well, it sounds like you really want people to connect with the camping experience, because if you don't have electricity, that means there's probably no light pollution. And then if you don't have water, then people have to, use nature more. So I like the fact that you're like sort of encouraging people to connect to that experience.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think, it's easy to go away and stay in a hotel or stay even in an Airbnb in a community and never really experience the outdoors or experience the best of what the community has to offer. Whereas if you're thrust right into nature, you really get a different sense of the world, and you explore the world in a different way because you're exploring for food. Typically people will cook food over the campfires at their Tentrr campsites. So you're exploring in a different way than you normally would if you're just in an air-conditioned suite in a hotel.
Right. And let me ask you, which states are you located in currently?
We're in 11 states. So that would include Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, Rhode Island, Maryland, California, and New Jersey. Did I say New Jersey? Anyway.
So my question is... Go ahead.
Yeah. Basically all the Northeast and California.
Right. So the states that you aren't in yet, the 39 states that you're not in, is that for legal reasons, or it's just that you guys haven't expanded there yet? Like, is there anything specifically that's stopping you from being in those states?
No, not at all. We're expanding as rapidly as possible. So we're sort of way out in front on our expansion plans, and we expect to be within about 2.5 hours of the top 50 metropolitan areas in the United States within 2 to 3 years.
Nice. How are you doing outreach to find more landowners?
Yeah, so primarily through digital marketing, but also through an extensive direct mail campaign.
So when you say digital marketing, you're talking like Facebook ads and stuff like that? Exactly,
Facebook and Google AdWords.
And do you find that these systems work for you?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny, we actually get a better response rate from direct mail for camp keeper acquisition. So we've made good use of that, and we can target by size of the property and residentially owned and the zip codes that we're interested in. So we actually get a better response rate from direct mail for that side of our marketplace.
I see. And say I lived in Wyoming and I had 1,000 acres of land, would I be able to put down, 50 campsites?
We would assess the property, and we kind of bill ourselves a little bit as the anti-campground. So what we don't want to create is a situation where you're bumping into 1 million people you don't know. But if you do have 1,000 acres, that's obviously a huge property that could accommodate a lot of Tentrr campsites and provide each one with enough privacy and seclusion to give the right Tentrr experience. So absolutely. If you know anybody in Wyoming with 1,000 acres, please tell them to give me a call.
I hope one day it'll be me.
Me too.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What does it cost for a landowner to set up the site? Or I understand you guys do it, but what would it cost the landowner?
Yeah, so currently we charge a $1,500 membership fee. So that's a one-time fee that the landowner pays. And for that, they get about $7,000 worth of equipment, which allows them to establish this turnkey business that runs on our platform and can generate, average about $7,200 a year in revenues.
I see. Okay.
That price, by the way, is going up. Our membership fees are increasing as of next month.
To what?
To $5,000.
Okay, I understand it's expensive to set up the site. But my question would be, what does it cost someone who wants to spend the night at a campsite?
Oh, sure. So for the campers, the pricing is set by the landowner. So we don't control the pricing.
Is there a minimum?
So the average, there's $100 floor for
Okay.
the pricing model. But I think right now the average price is about $120 a night, which is pretty reasonable if you're dividing that among even six people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say, God forbid, there's a forest fire or a hurricane or something destroys the site. Would the landowner have to pay for the kit to be set up again, or you guys would take care of that?
Yeah, these acts of God are covered by our insurance policy, so we would fix the campsite and get it back ship shape in no time.
Right. And what's your edge over your competition, if you have any, and why can't Airbnb come in and crush you?
Well, I think if Airbnb really decided they wanted to, they could. But I think our edge and our differentiation is a couple of things. First of all, we define and we control our entire marketplace. So all the equipment that's installed, it's ours. We designed it. We're constantly improving on it, and we own it. So we literally define and control our marketplace. Two, we've made the slightly contrarian decision to take responsibility for and leadership of our customers' emotional journey throughout their trip, from the moment they book to the moment they return. And I think that is a distinction that's going to serve us and has served us well in terms of building our brand and growing the company. And what I mean by that is, people that may have had experiences with some other sharing economy companies, if you ever try to get in touch with somebody because you're having a problem, good luck. But with Tentrr, we make sure that there's 24/7 customer service for both sides of our marketplace. And we also make sure that when you're going on a camping trip, you know exactly what the best things to do are. We've curated all this stuff for you so that you're arriving already knowing exactly what you want to do to have a fantastic experience. So I think those two things, defining and controlling our entire marketplace, and taking leadership of and responsibility for our customers' emotional journey are two edges. I think you and I could put an empty refrigerator box on the corner of 52nd and Madison and put it on Airbnb for $15 a night.
Right.
Or much more curated. And while that means that we may grow a little bit more slowly than Airbnb, I think at the end of the day we'll have a network that's incredibly powerful.
I see. And what about moving into other countries? Have you thought about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is global domination is the name of the game here. But one step at a time. And the funny thing is, it's not hard for us technically to, or mechanically, I should say, to set up campsites in other countries. We could have a bunch of campsites in Canada and Mexico right now if we really wanted to, or wherever. But the funny thing is that cross-border payment is actually trickier than you might think technically. So, which is not to say that that's holding us up. Right now, we're focused on the top 50 metropolitan markets in the United States, and then we'll think about expansion globally. But it is surprisingly tricky to do cross-border payments. So, if anybody has good solutions to that, I'd love to hear about them.
Okay. And what's the craziest thing that's happened to you on this journey so far?
I only get to say one, huh?
Tell me all of them.
Let's see. Look, I mean, I think the craziest thing so far is that we've raised close to $15 million for a concept that came out of a really lousy camping trip in the Jersey State Park. But I think in terms of day-to-day stuff, it's an adventure every day, to be honest with you, and crazy things happen on a daily basis. People have babies and leave. People come in that you have low expectations of, and they knock the cover off the ball. Landowners who you think are going to be maybe low performing or moderately performing landowners, camp keepers, and campsites end up being, the most lucrative and most fantastic camp keepers that we have in our network. In terms of crazy stuff that's happened, two campers one Saturday night were walking with their dog, and they must have encountered just the largest nest of ticks ever in the history of the world, and ended up three of them in an emergency room covered with ticks. I guess the dog had the worst of it, but yeah, and so stuff like that happens. I mean, in a company like this where there's people going outdoors and exploring the world in a new way, you're always going to have some funny stuff happen. Fortunately, nobody's ever gotten hurt, and we're very happy about that. But I think the best thing about being the CEO of Tentrr is getting the emails from campers, people getting engaged at our campsites, people teaching themselves how to roast duck over a campfire and sending us pictures of it. People celebrating birthdays and bachelor parties and in a way that they never really could have before. I think that's the best part of my job.
Okay, but what would you say the biggest challenge has been, or the biggest crisis since you started the company?
Well, I think the biggest challenge has just been balancing a two-sided marketplace. I think it's challenging for every two-sided marketplace, and we're no exception. So the laws of supply and demand, when they're all under one roof, can be tricky. And so you don't want to have 1 million campsites and 10 campers. You don't want to have a million campers and 10 campsites. So balancing that supply and demand in the two-sided marketplace has probably been the biggest challenge for us.
I see. And what advice would you give someone who's looking to start a business, and would you recommend that someone try to do something like you've done?
Well, hopefully not exactly like we've done, but no, I would absolutely recommend that people go and be entrepreneurs. I mean, it's the hardest and most rewarding thing I think you could do. I think the one piece of advice that I would have is cash is king, and make sure that you have enough capital to get to your next milestone, and then some. And then just surround yourself with the best people that you can afford out of the gate. There's no such thing as spending too much money, within reason, of course, on a person who's going to help you get to the next level, because that, especially in a venture-backed business, that could be the difference between your company not only making it, but becoming a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So right out of the gate, surround yourself with the smartest, best people you can is my best piece of advice, I would say.
Right. And speaking of surrounding yourself with the smartest people, how many employees do you currently have?
We have 32 employees today at Tentrr, and are hiring. We're hiring for a couple roles, so people can always check the website for the current openings.
But how do you manage your team and keep them happy?
Well, we have a senior management structure in place that I'm pretty proud of, and I have 4 direct reports. But I think the culture that we built at Tentrr is probably one of my favorite things about the company. And we have managed to build a collection of people who bleed Tentrr orange and spend their weekends, doing things like going on Tentrr camping trips to try to get as much information as they can to make better experiences for our campers. We have buck hunter video game tournaments every once in a while on Friday afternoons. We all eat together. We eat lunch together, and it's very collaborative. We work in a big open office in Chinatown with no walls or cubicles, and everybody kind of talks to everybody, and everybody has a say and a stake in the direction and strategy of the business. And I think it makes people feel really good about being there because they get to put their fingerprint on the success of the business.
Okay. Sounds good. And can you share with me some sort of customer service success story or something that happened with a customer who might not have been so happy and you were able to turn it around in a good way?
Yeah. One jumps to mind. There's a couple, really, really nice young couple, and it was his birthday. And so his girlfriend was giving him a Tentrr camping trip for his birthday. And she called our customer service team almost in tears and said that she couldn't find a campsite available for the weekend of her boyfriend's birthday, and this was all she wanted to give him. And so this was actually a Thursday evening before that weekend, and our campsites were 100% booked. And so we wanted to make them happy, and our build team didn't have any builds scheduled until the following Monday. So we actually accelerated the build schedule to build them their own campsite on Friday morning, so that she could take her boyfriend for his birthday. So, and they were really thrilled. They couldn't have been happier, and the campsite happens to be absolutely beautiful on a river with its own private swimming hole. So they were thrilled, and we were happy. And so we try to go way above and beyond. And I think that's a good example of kind of taking ownership of our customers' emotional journey.
Well, that's a beautiful story.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for sharing.
It's one of my favorites. My pleasure.
Okay, so do you guys offer any sort of sign-up bonus like Airbnb?
A sign-up bonus?
Yeah, like to get people using the service, or referral bonus or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you refer someone to Tentrr with land to share, and we end up putting up a campsite, we'll pay you $250.
Cool. And what about a guest?
Yep. We have a referral program called Give a Little and Get a Little. So if you refer a friend who goes on a camping trip, they'll get a discount, and you'll get a discount.
That's very nice.
For your next Tentrr trip. Yeah.
Okay. My next question would be, how do you deal with stress?
That's a great question.
You don't sound stressed at all with that laugh. It's a healthy laugh.
Yeah. That's because of running. It's look, being an entrepreneur, there's no two ways about it. It's a stressful job. I'm holding the livelihoods of 32 people, including my own, in my hands. On any given weekend, I've got thousands of people at our campsites, and I want them to have a wonderful time. And I've got investors and a board of directors that I have to communicate with and deal with on a regular basis. So, look, there's 0% chance that you're going to have no stress, no external stressors, I should say, in this job. And the way I deal with it is I go running. I wake up in the morning, I put on my sneaks, and I go running along the Hudson River. And it helps me stay grounded throughout the day. And that and drinking a lot of water, I think, are the two ways that I've figured out to manage my stress. But everyone's probably different. That's just how I do it.
Yeah, but I like the way you seem to run your life in a very what's the right word for this? Grounded and like just healthy way.
Well, my wife would be happy to hear you say that, because I think sometimes she thinks I don't take good enough care of myself. But
I'll send you a link to the podcast so you can share it with her.
I will, and I think these days, staying grounded and staying healthy is even more important because we have twin 6-month-old baby daughter. So
congratulations!
Thank you. So it's more important than ever.
Do you meditate at all, or do anything to like stay in the zone or get in the zone?
Yeah, I do try to do some meditation, and I feel like I'm pretty bad at it, but I do give it a shot.
Right. Okay, and my last question would be like this. If you could have a beer with anybody in history, alive or dead, anyone from the beginning of time until today, who would it be?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. And I think I'd have to say, for where we are right now, I'd like to have a beer with Thomas Jefferson. I'd like to hear what he has to say about our current political system and what he thinks of lobbying and the current political machine, and also what he thinks of America today versus what it looked like in 1776.
Wow!
And also how he liked camping.
How he liked camping. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled to use one of your sites. Bet they didn't have that in his day.
I don't think so.
And if you had to pick a business person, someone current to have a beer with, who would it be?
No, somebody who's still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd probably have a beer with Reid Hoffman if I could. He built LinkedIn from nothing in a time where there were flat search directories, and he basically introduced the concept of networking and network directories, and so I think there's a ton to learn from that guy. He also published online the Series B deck that he did for LinkedIn, which is something that I think every entrepreneur in the world could learn something from. I think he's one of the smartest guys around, and man, yeah, I'd like to have a beer with him.
Okay, I hope one day you'll get to do that.
I hope you're right.
So thank you so much for your time. It sounds like a really awesome company you're running. I've had some horrible camping experiences, so I look forward to trying your service one of these days. And I wish you much success in the future. And once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Lemmy. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
That was Michael D'Agostino, founder and CEO of Tentrr. You can learn more about Tentrr at www.tentrr.com. That's TENTRR.com. The link to Tentrr's website is also in the show notes in the description, so check it out. Hopefully you'll find some time to go on a camping trip and enjoy nature for yourself. I would just like to point out that since I conducted the interview a couple months ago, a couple things have changed at Tentrr. Number one, they added 19 new states, so they are now available in 30 states, which is a lot of growth in a couple months. And also, they have lowered their pricing model, so there are actually some campsites available for under $100, contrary to what Michael said earlier. Anyway, check them out. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry there was a little bit late this week, but hopefully next week I will get it out earlier and on time. I'm going to try to get them out for Sunday. Can't promise, but I'll do my best. And if you can, please leave a review for the show. It really helps me so much. It helps the show grow. It helps people find the show. It literally takes less than 20 seconds. So head over to the iTunes store, leave us a review, and a 5-star rating, of course. Tell your friends about it, like and subscribe, share it, and please come back next week for another great episode of You Are Not a Goat. Next week I have a really, really good episode as well. I can't tell you who it is, but trust me, you are going to enjoy it. Have a wonderful week. My name is Shlomi Zients, and you are listening to You Are Not a Goat.
You Are Not a Goat, the podcast for you.